Hey everybody, it's George Trombley with Japanese from Zero, and today we're going to be going through Japanese from Zero, Book 5, Section 1-5, tari shimasu ka. Now we have covered the tari verb form and a variety of things about it here in Book 4, Section 9-8, which is Lesson 9. I don't know why we're really covering it here again in Book 5, but because we are, we're going to, all right? And maybe one day I'll remove it and put it in Book 4 solely, but here we go. The tari verb form is made simply by taking the ta form, which we learned way back in Book 2, the past tense form informal, and adding ari. So for example, tabeta means I ate, past tense, informal. If you want to say, I do things like eat, tabetari. If you want to say, I do things like drink, even though it's the ta form, we know that nomu becomes nonda, a da form, right? Like da, but we don't call it the da form, it's the ta form. So you would say nondari. So this means to do things like drink. It's not everything that you do, it's a representative action of all of the actions that you do. Does that make sense? We're going to do some Q&A and I'll show you how it works. Here we go. What if someone asks you this?
週末に何をするの？週末に何をするの？
What do you do on the weekend? 週末に何をするの? It's informal, so we're going to answer short and sweet, okay? We don't have to do this big example sentence. We can just do a short example sentence like this.
勉強したり。勉強したり。
I do things like study. It's not the only thing that you do. It's one of the many things that you might do. Now, we could have said, 勉強します. I study. But that might imply that that's all you do on the weekend. But when we do something like tari form, it's like, I do things like study. It means there's other things that you do, but one of them is study. We can also combine multiple in a row tari forms.
勉強したり。YouTube 見たり。
I do things like study and watch YouTube. We don't need a toe in the middle. You don't say 勉強したり to YouTube 見たり. You don't do toe there. Just because English has it doesn't mean you need it in Japanese, okay?
勉強したり。YouTube 見たり。
Now you could keep going and give a bunch of more tari forms, but then you're kind of losing the goal of what tari does. Tari is just showing you representative things that you do. Things like studying, watching YouTube, amongst other things.
プールで泳いだり。絵を描いたり。
Now this guy, he does a lot of stuff. These are some wide examples here of what he does.
プールで泳いだり。絵を描いたり。
I do things like swimming in the pool and drawing pictures.
プールで泳いだり。絵を描いたり。
All right. Here's a good one.
友達と遊んだりします。
Now I want to warn you about this verb here, asobu. Asobu. Asobu means to play. We know that, like children are playing kind of a thing. But if you think it only means play, you might have a situation like I had. There was this girl, I think it was like way back when I was a tour guide. And she said, hey, when you come to Japan, why don't you asobi ni kite? Or asobimashou? Something like that. Let's play. And I'm like, oh, you want to play in Japan. But that is not what asobu is doing here. Asobu means to hang out also. So she just said, hey, we'll hang out in Japan. Nothing weird about that.
友達と遊んだりします。
I do things like hang out with friends. Okay. I play with my friends. All right. Now, a whole nother question here. That's what that little question thing means. And we're going to have a whole other set of example answers.
休みの日はドライブに行ったりしますか？休みの日はドライブに行ったりしますか？
So now we're asking a question. Let's look at it. Yasumi means a break or a day off. Yasumi means I'm off, right? Yasumi no hi specifically means day off. Your break days, right? On your day off, okay, if we go back all the way back to book 1, just to do a quick review, we need to remember that wa, in this case, in most sentences, marks the topic of a sentence, right? So everything before the wa tends to be the topic or part of the topic. Okay? In this case, the topic is a day. What day? Days off. It's modified by yasumi. Everything after the wa is either a question about the topic or a statement. So, as for your days off, or on your days off, ドライブに行ったりしますか? Do you do things like go for a drive? Now, she could have asked it very directly. She could have said, ドライブに行きますか? Do you go on a drive? But this way of asking is kind of softer, and it gives people room to say not just yes or no, but no, not that, but this. You know, it's like, do you do things like drive on your days off? All right.
休みの日はドライブに行ったりしますか？
It's a nice way to ask a question.
はい、たまにします。
はい、たまにします. Now, if you forgot what tamani means, or you might look up tama and you see that it means ball. And you're thinking, I do it on my ball? No, that's not what that means. Sorry. Tamani is a different kanji. It means occasionally.
はい、たまにします。
So he doesn't have to repeat the entire thing back. He doesn't have to say, はい、たまに休みの日にドライブをしたりします. Right? 運転 means to drive, so my brain auto-completed that. So he doesn't have to say that. He can just say, yeah, I do, using just します.
はい、たまにします。
All right, moving on.
いいえ、車はないからしません。
いいえ、車はないからしません. No, 車はない. I don't have a car. から, if you remember back in book 3, I believe, means because or since. Since I don't have a car, I don't do it.
いいえ、車はないからしません。
Okay. Here's a big one.
時間があるときします。あとは野球したりします。
Now, I want to say something here. Are you repeating the Japanese that you hear here? When you learn something new, are you mouthing those things? Because it's really important that you know that this is a whole different skill. When you're learning Japanese, you have to learn how to understand. You have to learn how to create sentences. You have to learn how to deconstruct a verb back to its basics so you remember what it was. You have a lot of skills you have to do, but one of the most important ones is getting your mouth to say these symbols that you saw in your head.
時間があるときします。あとは野球したりします。
Because a lot of people will say to me, oh man, I can't say it. Like I understand it, but I can't say it. That's because you're not saying it. So when you're watching videos that are teaching, or if you're watching a drama on Netflix or something like that, every now and then shadow. Shadowing is one of the most effective ways, not only to be able to train your mouth how to say the symbols, but also to learn the Japanese. It builds different pathways to the meaning. So, 時間があるときします。あとは野球したりします. Say it. And then after that, I want you to say out loud the English translation, because you will lie to yourself and you'll do some sort of like quantum mechanic thing where it's like, oh, it was a wave and then it became a single. I'm sorry, look up the double split experiment. You'll know what I mean. But I didn't mean to get too crazy with you. But don't lie to yourself. If you say it out loud, you can't imagine in your head that, oh no, that's what I meant, which is what I do if I don't say it out loud. Okay. So what does this mean? Say it out loud. First repeat it.
時間があるときします。あとは野球したりします。
Now out loud say, what does it mean in English? Say what it means. 時間があるとき, when I have time, I do. あとは, in addition to that, or also, 野球したりします. I do things like play baseball. Now, if someone said that, I would think, oh, sometimes maybe they play soccer as well. Maybe they do some other sports. And one of those is a representative sport, baseball. So I do when I have time. Also, I do things like baseball. All right. Next question.
時々落ち込んだりしますか？
Ooh, we took a dark here, and it's an appropriate voice for this darkness.
時々落ち込んだりしますか？
時々落ち込んだりしますか? Now, we have to do this verb. It's in the lesson, okay? 落ち込む means to get down. And sometimes we get down, especially when we're learning Japanese and we don't understand things. Sometimes it sucks. So maybe you could ask this, or maybe you want to ask somebody. You know what? These type of questions, by the way, if you're on Hello Talk or some other app where you're meeting random Japanese people, better than saying something lame like "onamae wa nan desu ka?" or "doku ni sunde imasu ka?" you could say "tokidoki ochikondari shimasu ka?" and you will get such a variety of answer back, and you will be giving them a unique thing to think about that I love. It's typically what I do. I remember a long time ago in one of these videos, I told you when you meet a Japanese person, you can say "jakuten wa nan desu ka?" which means what are your weak points? Or "jakuten ga arimasu ka?" do you have a weak point? And those sort of questions that make a person think, oh, this person wants to know about me, are really great questions, by the way. So try this.
時々落ち込んだりしますか？
Do you sometimes get down? Not like boogie woogie get down, depression. Do you sometimes get down? Now, you'll notice that in this question, we're not saying, do you sometimes, have things like getting down happening? We don't have to do that. When you translate from Japanese to English, you want the English to sound good. And when you go from Japanese to Japanese from English, you want the Japanese to sound good. So if you're doing a lot of literal translations, like sometimes I see in subtitling, you don't want that. All right? Here's the answer.
そうですね。月1回ぐらいは落ち込みます。
This is probably an answer I would give.
そうですね。月1回ぐらいは落ち込みます。
I think we learned these type of time frame things in book 3, I think. そうですね. Now here when we say そうですね, we learned そうですねlike back in book 1, and it's something like yes, that's correct. そうです, right? The opposite being 違います. But here it's like そうですね. Yeah, that's all it is. そうですね. It's like it's to give you a moment to say your answer or to prompt someone to hear the answer. そうですね. 月1回ぐらいは落ち込みます. One time a month about. And here we're using a wa, not to set off a topic, but to show some emphasis, right? For about like a month, one time a month, 落ち込みます. I get down.
そうですね。月1回ぐらいは落ち込みます。
It's okay to get down, guys. Unless you're this guy.
いえ、私はあまり落ち込まないですよ。いえ、私はあまり落ち込まないですよ。
Now you might be thinking, is this a typo? Is there supposed to be "ie" there? I mean, "ie" does mean no, but when you're speaking, often this gets truncated. "ie," okay? No. 私は, as for me, here again, this is actually not required here. This 私は not required. I could have said, あんまり落ち込まないですよ. But he's saying, other people get down, but as for me, you know what? I don't really get down that much. Listen to it again.
いえ、私はあまり落ち込まないですよ。
And this yo on the end is this kind of informational statement. I really don't get down that much. It's got that kind of tone. Now, in English, we have tone. And tone leads into the meaning of a sentence. Japanese has grammar most of the time. So if you listen to a way, they also have a little bit of tone too. But really, it's grammar. This yo is like, I'm giving you a fact. This is a fact.
いえ、私はあまり落ち込まないですよ。
No, I really don't get down much. Next question, and I believe the final one.
外国で困ったりしたことがありますか？外国で困ったりしたことがありますか？
Gaikoku means a foreign country. Gaikoku de means in a foreign country or abroad. 困ったりしたことがありますか? Komaru means to have trouble, to be in it is to be troubled. You might hear komaru or komatta, right? Komaru, oh my god, that's going to be a problem. It's an issue. Okay? 困ったりしたことがありますか? We learned that ことがありますか means have you ever? Like, do you have the experience, okay? Have you ever had a problem overseas? Or have you ever had troubles abroad?
外国で困ったりしたことがありますか？
Now, why would a person ask this? You have to understand Japanese people are just like us. They're human beings. And sometimes people ask a question because they want to say the problem that they had overseas. So in order to make it a conversation, they'll ask you in their head, they're like, oh man, I can't wait to tell them the problems that I had overseas. You know, it's like, I want you to imagine you witnessed a murder, which is insane, but I've witnessed a murder. Me and Mike walking on the pier in California, Huntington Beach, saw a guy get murdered. It was insane, okay? So I might ask you, have you ever like seen someone get murdered? Right? Or I might say, have you ever witnessed someone die in front of you? I might ask a question like that so that I can get to my story. That's probably what's happening here.
外国で困ったりしたことがありますか？
And by the way, you can use this too, okay? You can use this. If you want to tell a story and you want to steer a Japanese conversation to topics that you can talk about, this is what you do.
はい。カナダでパスポートをなくしたことがあります。
はい。カナダで in Canada パスポートを my passport なくした lost こと event があります。I have. Yes, I have lost my passport in Canada.
はい。カナダでパスポートをなくしたことがあります。
All right. Final one and most fun sentence of the entire video. But those of you that stopped at the 5-minute point, you're never gonna see it. This is for the Zero Army people.
はい。一回日本でヤクザと喧嘩しました。
What is it? What's the English?
はい。一回日本でヤクザと喧嘩しました。
Yes. 一回 one time 日本で in Japan ヤクザと with ヤクザ喧嘩しました。We fought, or I fought, sorry. Yes, one time in Japan I fought the Yakuza. Now, this sentence doesn't have the ことがありますか? Even though we were asking, have you ever blah 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 ことがありますか, right? We don't have to say 一回日本でヤクザと喧嘩したことがあります. We could, but we don't have to. We can just say, yeah, no, I fought with Yakuza in Japan once, yeah.
はい。一回日本でヤクザと喧嘩しました。
Let me know if you've ever fought with Yakuza. I have. One day I'll tell the story. I talked about it like 20 some years ago. I'll tell the story one day. All right. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Check out the book if you haven't. And if you don't like books, check out the website, fromzero.com. I'll see you all next time. じゃあね, bye bye.